Hey everybody, this is Allie Craig and welcome to Spark Stories, where every single week we bring you another fabulous story from somebody who is making a difference in their life and in the world because they're living their spark. If that's a business, a nonprofit, or just their life has changed, they have a spark, and guess what? By hearing their spark, it will ignite yours as well. We have the most fabulous Michelle Johnson with us today, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
And like many other people, Michelle has definitely a creative background. Share with us your past.
Well, I've been listening to music ever since I was very young. My parents are both musicians, even though they didn't tell me that until I was older because they didn't want me to go into music, but I did anyway. But my background is, I'm a vocalist, I'm a singer, and I'm a songwriter, and I play the piano. And I also now create music that empowers women. So I've sort of transformed my singing career into something that helps others.
I love that. And so with music, clearly instinctual. It's clearly something, if it's from a young age and your parents didn't even tell you that they were musicians.
Yeah, they did. I did take piano lessons, but I just had this obsession with listening to classic jazz records and singer-songwriter records. It was something I loved doing, and I found myself mimicking at the time and playing the piano and learning all these songs, and it was something that I would do late into the night. And if you know anything about professional musicians, they're usually up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, but I was doing that at age 6, which was bad for school, but good for singing. I just had a passion for music and would listen or play well into the night.
Well, most people, even if they have a love for music, at some point along the way, that either goes away because interests change or, you know, societally, like, how are you going to make it as a musician?
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah, sure.
But you actually went after it.
I did. You know, my background also is, my father is Liberian, and he was the Liberian ambassador to Egypt. So I grew up in Egypt. So that's a whole nother subject. But growing up like that, we went to a really cool school that was kind of like a prep school. So it was assumed once you got out of that school that you were going to go to college and study. So you're right. A lot of times that reality check, or what do they call it? The thing you fall back on. Isn't that what we all say? I was told I needed something to fall back on. So I got into Yale, and I went to Yale University, and I got a degree in English, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing, except that I guess I can speak well. But actually, I also love writing. But that was my fallback on story. So I did have a just-in-case plan. But I think the difference is, if it's something that is truly in you, that aligns with your deepest soul, you end up doing it anyway. So no matter which day job I would do, I was a paralegal, I worked in a counseling firm, I've done like every day job, but I couldn't stop singing. And then at some point I just finally realized, you better do this because it keeps happening anyway.
So what was that shift? What was that time where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for it?
Well, I sort of eased into it. I was doing gigs on the side in New York, and this is going to sound weird, but it was really cold there, and I was sick of the weather, and I was dating this guy that wanted to move to Vegas, and we were supposed to be here just for a few weeks to check it out. And when I moved to Vegas and saw that you could be fully employed and have a new house and a new car and all of that, I thought, well, I'll try it. I'll see what happens. And then I got in a few shows, and I realized this is so much fun. I can do this full time. And I think the ultimate switch came when I would look back at the year and see my income and see everything that I accomplished and realize I haven't worked a day job in 365 days and I'm doing just fine. So I'm not so sure if it was an aha moment all at once, but it just kind of gradually became something that I ended up loving. I would say what sparked going from that life of doing it as a job to doing it as a passion is when I got back to songwriting.
Oh.
I wrote songs when I was a kid, and then I stopped because I was always doing a show or a gig and singing someone else's music. And then I took a chance and I wrote this song called I'm All In, and I put it in one of my shows, and people were bawling. And I went, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm tearing up thinking about it.
I'm getting chills, and I haven't even heard the song.
It's a song about going back to what your spark was. I didn't even think about this. It's a song about going back to what you used to do when you were a kid. Because if you talk to a lot of people about their career, and then you sideline them and say, well, what did you do when you were a kid? Like when you had no cares? And you'll see them start to light up. Okay. And for me, it was songwriting. So when I sang the song in the show, it meant a different thing to a different person. It's about being all in the one thing you really want. And for me, the song is about going back to songwriting. And when I saw those people crying, I realized so many of us have abandoned that thing we know we should be doing, or that thing we love doing.
Yep.
Even if it's not to make a living. And so that switched things for me. And now I'm doing more original work, writing, and also encouraging and empowering women in particular to pursue whatever it is they walked away from because they thought they should, or because they thought they needed to fall back on something else.
I have total chills.
You are the one still kneeling in the sand, catching teardrops in my hand. I just sing the song, it comes to me naturally. Because I've been through a lot and the songs are about a lot. Does that make sense? You sing, you should know.
That's why you give us all you got, because you've been through a lot, and the songs are where it's hot. And you're hot.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but I will get swayed. And the thoughts seem to scatter, but I think it's about forgiveness.
See, I told you Spark Stories are great.
You're right. You're right.
So now, I mean, like, you were already kind of, you stepped forward when you came to Vegas.
Yes.
And you're doing it, but then to go fully into songwriting, how has that for you on an internal or spiritual or emotional level really kind of shifted your passion and your drive?
I don't remember where this quote is from, but there's a quote, I think it's Mr. Dwyer, that says something about dying with the music inside.
That is Wayne Dyer.
Right? He's
yep.
Amazing. Dyer, yes. And for me, the shift is that I believe that there is an inner voice in all of us that says, no one's going to want to hear this. Whether you have a huge ego or whether you're completely introverted, there is a little bit that says, hey, no one's going to want to hear this. And for me, that's gone. I realize now my story matters. Everybody's story matters. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. You're a unique person. You bring unique things to the table. And now I'm telling my story and encouraging other people to do theirs. And that wouldn't have happened if I had kept just singing cover songs. No offense to cover songs. It's how I pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
But this is something else. This is leaving a mark and a legacy so that when I'm gone, people can see my songs, hear my recordings, and say, that story resonated with me, or that meant something to me.
Well, and cover songs are lovely,
yes.
But when it's your work and coming from your heart and your soul, there's definitely a deeper transformation for you, but also for the listener as well.
That's right. I mean, the other day I went to see Dear Evan Hansen at the Smith Center. That's a wonderful... Have you been to the Smith Center?
No.
In Las Vegas, I like to call it the Lincoln Center of Las Vegas because it's our beautiful performing arts center. And it's an incredible place. And they do all the Broadway shows come through there, the tours. And I went to see Dear Evan Hansen, and I was watching how people reacted to identifying with Evan Hansen. And it's like everyone has a pain point. Not to be depressing or anything, but everyone has something that they're trying to get over or something they're going through. And the way that play transformed everyone in their chairs going, I remember that, or I felt something like that. I felt like I didn't belong. That's the kind of emotion that I'm trying to get with, at least with what I do. It doesn't mean every song is sad. It can be happy, but the goal is to make people realize it's okay to feel what they're feeling and to heal them through a song.
Love that.
I may not win, but I can't be thrown out here on my own. Out here on my own.
So with your original works and your songwriting, you're wanting to empower women. I mean, you could do anything. You could write about anything, but to empower women, why is that such a spark for you?
Well, I'm in an industry that is ageist and can be very sexist, and
the media, no, entertainment is never that.
And I wasted so much time telling myself these stories that weren't true. You're too heavy, you're too short, you can't dance, or whatever it is, you're too old. And it was always you're too or you're not enough. You're too much of or you're not enough. And once you break free and realize that that's just a song that you're singing in your head and that you can switch the narrative, that's something that you can literally do anything if you really, really want to do it. And what I have found is that with women, that voice is double loud.
Yep.
Double, triple loud. I don't know why. I think as girls we are raised to compromise, don't make too much noise, don't be rude, be quiet, be polite, be pretty.
Be meek.
Be meek. And it's like, no, be badass.
I love it.
Because you are. And so now that's my thing, is shaking these women and young girls and saying, hey, why not you? Why not you? What's the difference? And the only difference between so many of the successful artists and those who remain in the shadows or remain unknown but want to be famous is they made a decision, or they got lucky, or they worked really hard and got lucky, like any combination. But you'll find with any truly successful artist, you'll find deep insecurity, but also deep passion. And the passion just happens to be winning over the insecurity, and that's why they do what they do.
So where are you sharing your own work at?
Well, this is all very new, but I am in the middle of forming a nonprofit so that I can do seminars and speaking engagements and also like writing workshops and all kinds of things like that for women. Mm-hmm. I'm writing a book. It's called The Chick Singer Bible, and it's very specific about how to pursue the arts as a woman. And it's not your typical book where, this is how you get an agent, this is how you write a resume. It's more, what do you do when the casting director is ogling you? What do you do when you don't get along with your castmates? What do you do when you're the understudy, but you really want the job, but you don't want to do the wrong thing and try to steal it, but you want to shine? Like things like that people don't talk about. Power struggles, how to negotiate your own contract, how to be strong as a woman if you're a band leader. This is a big one for me. How to be strong, but also how to not be an ass. Because as a woman, I can say the exact same thing a guy will say to a band, and it will be taken as she's so bossy.
Yep.
Or bitchy.
Exactly. There you go.
like Barbra Streisand, who's, the legendary, oh my gosh, she's such a diva, she's this, she's that. Now, I'm not going to say I have had lunch with Barbra Streisand, but I was lucky. My choir was hired to perform with her, and she was so lovely in the few seconds that we had with her. And I remember looking at her and saying, if she wasn't the way she was, would she be here at the MGM Grand right now in this arena? Probably not. Oh. If she hadn't been forceful. So I just think we have to rewire the way we think about being assertive.
Well, and that's not just helpful for women in the entertainment industry,
right,
but just women in general.
Just in general.
To own their own leadership and their own strength.
Yes. And I don't know how it started or why it started, but it's such BS, and I'm just done. I'm over it. I mean, maybe I'm just at an age where I don't care about that anymore, but I'm finding that if you just take a little time to encourage someone, if you just give them no pun intended, a little spark, if you just give them a little spark and say, well, just try it and see what happens. Or if you give them advice like this, like in this book I'm talking about, things that you wouldn't think of. Like negotiating tactics are different for women. Posture, the different modulations of your voice.
Yep.
You know, for example, if I say, so we're going to be doing this project and it's going to be really awesome. So am I asking you now or telling you? I'm asking you. And you don't hear a lot of men going, so we're gonna invest in this new project, and like you don't hear it.
Huh.
But we have trained our voices to go up so that the whole conversation is a permission thing.
Well, and it's more as just for nonverbal communication. When we go up and higher, men technically don't hear it because they don't have the ears in their
My
ear.
husband can't hear me. Let's go, hey.
And it makes us more juvenile
Yes.
because then we're less threatening.
Less threatening.
We're less threatening
and
when we're young.
there are times, don't get me wrong, there are times, like at the valet, when it's full, when I go, is it full? I will full on admit, I will do that. I'll bat the eyelashes. There's nothing wrong with using your female power when you need it. But to think that that's your only
Card.
card, I think is not good.
No.
And I also don't think it's good to go the other extreme where you say, well, I have to be a man in order to be successful, so I have to be non-feminine and I have to be hard and I can't cry and I can't be emotional. And it's like, you know, there's got to be a happy medium, and those are the kinds of things that I'm trying to teach because I think I've gotten good at it.
Well, and you wouldn't have made it in Vegas, doing Vegas shows, doing singing throughout all around Vegas entertainment, New York
Right.
entertainment, if you would have played the masculine card.
No, I mean, when I lived in New York, I was in a Broadway show called Some Americans Abroad. And it was a straight play with a singer's role. And I remember it was at the Lincoln Center Theater at the Mitzi. And I would go to the theater every night and I would talk to the people in the lobby, the people that work there. And I remember them talking about how, Michelle, we love working with you because you're one of the guys. And I remember thinking, okay, I mean, that's cool and all. I always used to hang out with the crew, but I realized that they kind of saw me like a guy. And that's because living in New York, I had hardened myself. I had this walk, you know, the New York walk.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
Nope.
look at anyone.
And you walk fast.
And I was like that. I'm like, hi, I'm here. You had to sign in, and I'd sign in. And I realized I'd become so hard there, just so, I don't know, not female at all until I hit the stage. And now I'm in a place where I'm comfortable blending all of those sides to me. It doesn't have to be one way.
Feminine strength there.
Yeah, it's it's different for everyone. You know, some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, and then I would say most performers are extroverted introverts. Because the minute that camera goes off, you're like, oh, did I suck? I mean, that happens. That's just part of our thing. When I perform, it could be 10,000 people, 20,000 people, Hollywood Bowl or whatever place, no problem. But if you put me in front of 12 people, then I'm mortified because it's a small audience. And then that voice starts that I was talking about earlier. So training yourself to be confident regardless of the size of your audience or the passion or the spark that you're pursuing, it just takes time.
Yep.
It takes a lot of time.
So here's the one question.
All right.
Do you regret following your spark, going all in?
Hell no! No, I don't regret it. I mean, I laugh about it because I'm one of those people that I like a lot of different things. You can probably tell by the way I talk, I'm a little ADD. No, I'm a lot ADD. I have ADD. And I don't regret it. And I also don't regret the different things I did along the way. I used to work for Apple, which is completely random, but I'm geeky. And that was great and taught me how to deal with people. You know, so it doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that eventually you let that spark take over. I have no regrets. I wish I had done it sooner, maybe, but then I wouldn't know how to facilitate paying it forward. That's the difference in time.
Exactly. Perfect timing. And I love it. Let your spark take over.
Yes.
That's so perfect. So let your spark take over.
Don't be scarred.
No. Because you know what? It's what's meant to be.
It's what's meant to be.
Thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your spark with us. Totally appreciate it. Everybody, check out Michelle and everything that she's up to. And more importantly, we're going to see you guys next week to share another amazing Spark story. See you then.
And I'm running my race, my face to the wind, circling back to the place where you helped me begin. 'Cause this time I'm all in. This time I'm all in.